Welcome to the Cinema Australia podcast with Matthew Eales.
Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Cinema Australia podcast for 2026. It's great to be back. It wasn't until the back end of 2025 that I realised how few episodes of this podcast I recorded last year, with a focus on more written interviews. I'm going to make it a priority in 2026 to record more episodes and hopefully reach my 150th episode, which would be really exciting. Anyway, on to this episode. I usually stick to interviewing directors and actors, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to guest cinematographer Benjamin Bryan, someone whose career I've kept a close eye on since first taking notice of his work on documentary Franklin in 2022. Few cinematographers working in Australia are shooting films like Benjamin is, and his work on his latest documentary Iron Winter is nothing short of breathtaking. Iron Winter observes two friends from Mongolia's remote Sakia Valley as they undertake a gruelling rite of passage, herding 2,000 horses across the icy Mongolian steppe in search of grazing land below the snow. This tradition has been under threat in recent times due to harsh weather conditions, made worse by climate change and the effects of urbanisation on the local community. Benjamin's other films include Glenn Trigg's Ancestry Road and Sue Thompson's Careless, which we also discuss here, along with his directing work on his new series pilot, Lake Boga. Iron Winter will be released in Australian cinemas on March 19, but if you're in central Queensland, you can catch it at the Capricorn Film Festival on January 16. Anyway, enjoy. Benjamin Bryan, thank you for joining the Cinema Australia podcast. It's a genuine pleasure to have you on as a guest.
You're welcome. Very excited to be on. Long-time listener.
Yeah, that's great. I guess most of my pleasure comes from the fact that you're the first filmmaking guest that I've had on this podcast who's predominantly a cinematographer. And what gets me even more excited about having you on is the fact that you've worked on some of my absolute favourite films of the past few years, which I'm really looking forward to speaking with you about. So thanks again.
No, it's a real honor.
Before we dive into your career and speaking about some of those films, I want to ask you about your recent accolade as the first Australian cinematographer to win the Golden Frog in the documentary category at the Camera Image Festival. Firstly, congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a real surprise and a really special moment.
I bet. And did you attend the awards?
Yeah, I didn't know, but I got an email late one night from them saying, "Hey, you've gotten into this festival. Can you come over? Let us know the dates." And yeah, they fly you over to that festival.
Wow.
It's incredible, and the director as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was there.
So was the email about Iron Winter getting into the festival itself, or was it more about your work?
No, the email was for Iron Winter because
Yeah.
I actually submitted it myself. The producers had
Ah,
forgotten to submit that one, so I
really?
took it upon myself just on the off chance. So yeah, it was a nice surprise to get.
So why did you submit it yourself? What was so important about this particular festival?
Well, I actually met another cinematographer at a festival at the premiere for Iron Winter actually, and after the film, he came up to me and said, "Oh, you should probably think about submitting this to Camera Image." And I really hadn't heard too much about the festival. Like I'd known about it being a really prestigious festival.
Mm.
But yeah, it was his recommendation that made me think, oh, I should probably do this. So yeah, I was just lucky, I guess.
So what was that experience like attending?
Oh, it was so surreal for me. Like, yeah, there were so many of my heroes there
Yeah.
in a cinematography sense. So yeah, and it was also really special because it was a David Lynch retrospective as well, and I'm a
Yeah.
huge David Lynch fan. So yeah, it was a real joy to chat to some of those icons of the industry and just watch heaps of films as well.
Yeah. Well, now I'm really curious to know who some of those heroes are and those icons who you admire.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, there was like screenings of all David Lynch's work with the attendance of the cinematographers that had shot them. So like Frederick Elms and Peter Deming, Ron Garcia were all there to introduce the films and do a Q&A.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just really special and and emotional actually to
Yeah.
to be with these guys who'd worked with David, and hear them talk about, their collaboration with him was really special.
Did you get to meet any of them yourself?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went up to them, especially after I'd won the frog and they'd seen me up on stage. I got to chat with a few of them, and yeah, they were just really humble people, and yeah, had some great stories about the madness of working with David Lynch. So yeah, it was great.
Was there any particular story?
I think there was a few, but yeah, Ron Garcia's story of how he first got the first job with David Lynch. His agent sent him the script, and then he read the script and just tore it up and threw it in the bin. And then his agent was like, "Oh, you should really take this meeting," and he took it. And upon meeting David Lynch, he realized, who he was and that he was a real an artist in the truest
Yes.
sense. So yeah, he took the job, but yeah, he just said that he was just constantly, David Lynch's directions were like, too weird, Ron. Think mysteriously, stuff like that, where, he really tapped into the psyche so well.
Yes.
But yeah, it was incredible talking to those guys.
Although it's incredibly sad about his passing, I think one of the greatest things to come out of that is seeing everyone's impressions of him on social media and on videos. Naomi Watts does a great impression of him, and yeah, it's been quite enjoyable actually.
Yeah, yeah, he was such a character, wasn't he?
He was. It's funny because award for me personally, awards used to mean nothing to me until I started my own awards event here in Western Australia, and seeing
Yeah.
firsthand what acknowledgement via an award means to a filmmaker really did change my opinion. My whole perspective on it now has changed. They are so important, but what do awards like this mean to you as a filmmaker?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I feel the same, as you did to some degree in the beginning. Like you think, oh, what does an award really mean? It's just a piece of granite with a golden frog on top of it.
Yes.
It's going to sit on a shelf gathering dust. But yeah, I think after you get an award, or, and you can see the impact that it has on your career down the years, like, this is probably the first or biggest accolade that I've received.
Mm,
But yeah, to be amongst those people, and those peers, and to be recognized in that way is really special. And yeah, you realize, especially in a place like this festival, where the judging felt very, very as objective as you could, in
mm,
regards to something that is so subjective.
mm,
Yeah, it did feel earned, so that,
mm.
that was nice.
I do have one final question for you about this award, but I want to save that to the very end, so I'll leave it to then. But for now, as I do with this podcast, I like to go back to the very beginning of a filmmaker's career. You studied film and TV at Swinburne Bourne University. Well, what was the extent of those studies?
Yeah, I did. I was at Swinburne in Melbourne after I finished high school, and yeah, I had a great time there. I'm still very young and immature, watching a lot of films, and had some good lecturers there. But yeah, I remember it being, a lot of drinking of beer, and also um, a lot of, yeah, I think, the lecturers there were keen to prepare us for the high chance that we would never get work in the industry, which is a sad reality for so many people who go to film school. It's really
Mm.
tough. It's a really tough, yeah, industry to get into. So, but yeah, I had a great time there, and still catch up with some friends from my time there, which is great.
Did you go on to work with any of those people?
No, actually, the year I was in, I think there's maybe me and one other person that actually work in the industry. So the lecturer was right. um, yeah, but yeah, they're all doing well, I believe.
That's good to hear. Were you there, with with cinematography in mind? Is that what you were primarily focused on?
No, I think, coming out of high school and being a kid, I just fell in love with film and wanted to make films.
Mm,
So yeah, I think similar to many people, when you go into film school, you don't really know too much about that delineation of all the roles. And yeah, so I just wanted to make films, and made a few probably pretty terrible short films in uni, and yeah, it was a great experience. I think only towards the end of uni, and actually afterwards, that I think more about camera.
Yeah. So that's very interesting what you've said then, and from what you've observed yourself, do most cinematographers set out to become a cinematographer from the get-go, or is it usually a profession that most people fall into?
Yeah, I think most people fall into it,
Mm.
really. I mean, I know a lot of other DPs who, I guess, started out wanting to be directors, in the beginning, and then finding that they were comfortable shooting. I think it's a pretty common path, and yeah, I mean, there's the case. There's lots of ways to become a cinematographer. Obviously, you can just pick up a camera and start shooting, or you can, as I did, you can go and assist other DPs for a while and learn that way.
Mm.
So yeah, there's a few ways into it. Yeah.
Talk about some of those DPs that you assisted because they were on projects made by Jocelyn Morehouse and Dana Reed and people like that. Can you tell us about those experiences?
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time as an assistant. I got offered a job working on this TV show, which was a cop show called Rush,
Yeah.
just as a video split operator.
Mm.
And it was like, yeah, it was a really tough job. I just was constantly had dirty hands from wrapping up all the cables and stuff and running around like a headless chook. But yeah, like that, the pace at which you have to do things, and also just the camaraderie with the crew, realizing it was kind of like one big family was really special.
Mm.
So yeah, that time, yeah, I'll never take it back. I had some really fun experiences working on those shows, and from there, I kind of, yeah, I got to work with some incredible Australian DPs, guys like Gallery Ryan Senior, and Graham Wood,
Mm.
who shot The Dish, I believe. Yeah, he
Yep.
shot The Dish. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, just real gentlemen of the camera department, really. So it was really nice to learn from them.
Do you find that it's a male-dominated industry?
Yeah, when I started, it definitely was. There were
Mm.
women in the camera department, but it would be, less than a quarter, I would say.
That's interesting. So when did you know that cinematography was the profession for you?
Yeah, for a long time, I think I mean, I'm still on the fence a little bit, but yeah, I think when I traveled out of school after I was in uni, I went on a trip overseas, and my dad gave me his camera. He had like a 35 mil, just a Canon SLR camera, and I took it with me, and yeah, I took a lot of photos on my trip, as you do. And then when I came back, I think I was just showing dad photos on my trip, and yeah, he said, "Oh, these are really great. Like you should maybe like have an exhibition or something."
Wow.
And I think something in that encouragement, and my just general love for film, and
Mm.
in particular films that had a really striking visual kind of style to them, led me towards cinematography. I think the whole time I was an assistant, I was still kind of thinking, oh, I want to direct, but I didn't really have anything to say, as a
Mm.
director, I don't think.
Mm.
And then as I kind of, became a more experienced assistant, I got the chance to shoot a few things, and yeah, it just felt right being behind the camera. And so, yeah, I thought, oh, we're going to give this a crack. Yeah.
I know that you said that this profession is still up in the air for you, and I know that you've directed and you've made your own short films and things like that. But I guess it's this world class cinematography style that you have that really cements you as a cinematographer. For me personally, having watched your work over the past few years, so I really hope that it is something that you do continue to pursue.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not telling anybody that I'm a director. It's still not, it's like definitely on my CV, it says cinematographer, but yeah, I think they're slightly interchangeable, those two roles to some degree. And I think that having a really good understanding of one feeds into the other. So yeah, I think that the directors that I've enjoyed working with really understand that, and it's a part of what makes you good at your job as a cinematographer. So
Yeah, and I've spoken to filmmakers in the past who are predominantly cinematographers, but they're not getting much work, so they direct their own things to shoot, and a lot of them are looking forward to actually focusing just on the cinematography side of it going forward. Do you find that that's a common experience?
Yeah, I mean, to be a director is definitely the hardest job, and to be able to walk away and have some space from a project after the shoot is a real privilege, I think. And my collaborations with on the feature films that I've done, I've been very close to the director and
Mm,
really
mm,
seen, just the hardships that they go through and how much endurance they have to, to put it all together. So yeah, it's nice as a cinematographer is very lucky in that, yeah, when the shoot's over, our job's kind of done and we
yeah,
walk off into the sunset.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I just want to stick to the past for a moment here, but you got your start at a camera rental house working under cinematographer Barry Malseed, who of course shot Lonely Hearts, directed by the late great Paul Cox and co-written by the late great John Clark and starring Wendy Hughes. What did you take away from your time getting to know and working with Barry?
Yeah, Barry is he's a legend. He's a real icon of the industry in Australia, in Melbourne in particular. And yeah, he gave me my first real job. I think I was doing some work experience there. I was just coming in and hanging around, and I'd been there for a couple of months. He said, "I think we'd better start paying you now." And yeah, he's just such a lovely guy. He's got time for everybody, and he is really supportive of young filmmakers, and just so generous with his time and all his gear. He's got so much gear, runs a rental house, and on many shoots that I've done, they're the first to kind of back you and say, "Oh, here, you take this. We know the money's going to come back to us." Like
Mm.
they're just so supportive in that way. So yeah, he's really helped me.
Speaking of equipment, how easy is it do you have your own equipment or are you expected to bring your own to a shoot?
Yeah, it's changed since I started. I think now with digital, like if you're shooting doco, you are expected to have your own camera.
Mm,
Unless you're doing very, very high end stuff. It's quite often that, yeah, like that will be part of your package with your rate.
mm, mm,
And so, yeah, the camera that you own or that you can afford does change the jobs that you might be getting based on your show reel and stuff like that as well.
mm, mm,
So, yeah, I think for Doco it's good, and it's good to be able to, go and to have that freedom. But yeah, not everybody can afford that gear, so yeah, it's tough. I think yeah, in drama, you don't need to own a camera so much. That's
mm,
what rental houses are for.
mm.
But yeah, the budgets on Doco are generally a lot smaller.
Yes, yes. So, what's your weapon of choice then, as far as camera goes?
Well, I yeah, in 2020, just before COVID hit, I made the crazy decision to buy an Arri camera, Arri Mini LF, um, with my partner's blessing and the mortgage on the house. So yeah, I bought that camera and then it sat around for a long time during COVID. But it's a great camera, and I feel like it still hasn't been surpassed in other
Mm,
cameras that have come out. So
mm,
yeah, there's other guys out there who I looked up to who I had known like had taken that route. Buy a camera and just use it to ensure that your work is of a high quality, I guess.
mm, mm.
So yeah, if you have that opportunity, yeah, I think it's a really smart move.
So before we move on to Iron Winter, which will incorporate questions about Franklin, I want to ask you about two other films that you've recently shot, which are Careless, the documentary, and Ancestry Road. There's a lot to love about Ancestry Road, but your cinematography complements Glenn Trigg's direction so well here. And the film is set in Scotland, but filmed in Tasmania. How much of a challenge was that for you, and what was Glenn's brief here?
Oh, that was such an enjoyable shoot with Glenn.
Mm,
Yeah, I think you've spoken to him before, and he's just a really lovely person to be around, and
mm,
really inspirational. Really, that he just approaches projects and throws himself kind of into them with abandon. And so, yeah, it was a really good time. I think it was a 4 week shoot, and we were in cold Tasmania for Scotland, which it did feel very Scottish while we were there.
Yes, it looked
Uh,
like it too.
yeah, and Glenn is just very pragmatic about filming, and doesn't want to do crazy long days. And yeah, it's just a really joyous experience working with Glenn. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was great.
It felt like quite a family affair as well. I know that Glenn had his children, were a part of the film as well. Did it feel like a family affair?
Yeah, it did. Like his kids were down there. My daughter actually came down for a week of the shoot as well and was kind of around. And yeah, we were on this property down there where it was kind of like an Airbnb attached to like the main, and a few different buildings around the main house. And so all the crew kind of got to stay together as well. So yeah, it did feel like one big family. And yeah, the story itself is obviously such a personal story for
Mm.
Glenn.
Mm.
It was yeah, it was moving to to be involved in the telling of it. Yeah.
Were there any particular challenges for you as a cinematographer on that shoot?
Yeah, there was one scene in the script where somebody falls down a well,
Mm.
and yeah, like without having a huge art department budget, the well that had been built was amazing for the money, but still kind of looked a little bit like painted foam. But yeah, they did a great job with it.
Mm.
But I was very keen to shoot in a real well,
Yes, yes.
crazily, to make it look a bit realer. But at the end of the day, it came together fine. And there were lots of little challenges like that where we were trying to cheat. Glenn had to get a road built between the house and the
Yes.
hill,
Yeah.
and managed to call in this guy that had been working up the road building the highway to come and like, carve out this road in the paddock
Are
last
you
minute. So
serious? Is that what happened there?
yeah, yeah, it was yeah, the yeah, the wonderful art department guy managed to just yeah, rocked up at this road site and said, "Hey, any of you blokes want a few slabs of beer?" And then this guy just came down with this earth moving machine and just carved out a road in a few hours. So
That's amazing because it's such an
yeah.
integral part of the film, that road, right? The whole film's basically built around that road.
Yeah, that's right. And I think he couldn't have done it in post because obviously
No.
there's people walking on it and it would have been a
Mm.
nightmare. So yeah, I
Mm.
was really lucky with that.
Do you watch your films once they're released? And if so, would you say you're more critical or complimentary of your work?
I'm pretty critical of my work. I think I definitely go to the premiere and will watch them in that sense. And depending on the collaboration with the director, sometimes be watching rough cuts of the film as well.
Yeah.
I think that's really good if you can, because it just helps you understand the process, and it's nice for the director to have somebody to bounce, things off if they trust um, your opinion. But
Mm.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to watch a film, even on Winter, where I felt like I got almost everything right because there's always compromise. So
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
you're always reminded of your mistakes, but it's lovely to see it with an audience.
Yes. Careless. I just want to talk about Careless for a moment. Yeah, another one of my favorite films of this year, in particular. I know it was only just released last week, but I saw it at MIF all those months ago. It seems like a very different beast for you in that this is handheld camera work. It's very low budget and extremely personal film for director Sue Thompson, in that it's primarily about her mother. Was this a much more relaxed experience for you considering these other films that you've worked on?
Yeah, it was. It was a real change of pace for me, and it was really, really a delight to work with Sue as well.
Mm.
I think it was a project that I probably needed to do after
Mm.
doing some of these other projects where
Yeah.
I didn't have to travel anywhere. It was in Melbourne, and yeah, it was just all really just filming people, which was nice.
Yeah, would you describe it as more of a fly on the wall style cinematography shoot?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a shoot where the story and the director's relationship, with her mother and was the most important thing. And I guess my job on that shoot was to just get out of the way as much as possible and
Mm.
and not to try and impose a style on it, I guess. Yeah,
Yes.
just to be more observational. So yeah, it was different, and I did. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. She's got a great team of people that she works with, a small crew, but yeah,
Yeah.
they're all lovely. So.
And also again, just thinking about Glenn's film, also a lot of Sue's family are involved in her shoots too, aren't they?
Totally, yeah. Her daughter Lola was the
Yes.
one of the production managers on it, and helped out with lots of stuff. So
Yes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
lots of times I think we shot pretty much every single inch of Sue's house for lots of interviews. We ran out of places to shoot, so yeah, that was great.
How did you find working with Sue's mother, Margaret? Because she's certainly a character, and although I adore this film, it wouldn't have worked anywhere near as well as it does without Margaret in it.
No, she was hilarious, and I think Sue was begrudgingly kind of, filming her. She knew that she was a big part of the story, but as to what degree, I think, Lola and her other kids kind of said, "Oh, Mum, you gotta, this is the emotional core of the story," and we all felt watching it that it was, and so yeah, obviously, um, making a film about your mum as she's going into aged care is not an easy thing for anybody.
Mm,
So
mm.
yeah, I think Sue was really brave to tell that story.
Do you get caught up in the emotions of what you're filming and the subjects that you're filming?
Yeah, absolutely. I think yeah, I'm always emotionally connected to what I'm filming, and if I'm
Mm,
not, it's not good for anybody.
mm,
um,
mm,
yeah, I think it's such an important part of being a filmmaker, and especially being a cinematographer, is being in that privileged position to see things through the lens, for the first time as they happen, and respond to them and empathize with people. I think, yeah, it's a real, often on Sue's film, I definitely find myself, crying into the
yeah.
crying into the viewfinder,
Mm,
because you're just hearing, about people's lives,
mm,
what they've
mm,
experienced in their lives and their pain and,
mm.
their joy. So yeah, it is moving. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And if listeners would like to know more about any of these films that we're discussing here, you can head over to cinemaaustralia.com.au, where you can find interviews with most of the filmmakers involved, including Sue and Glenn. How in sync do you have to be with a filmmaker and their vision for a film? And at what point do you realize that a filmmaker is on the same page as you visually? Would it work if you weren't?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think obviously the more in sync you are, the better. Uh, but I do think that conflict is good as well. I think that
Mm,
when you're in a situation where you feel comfortable entering into like mildly heated discussion or an argument about something, I think it's a good place to be with a collaborator, as long as it's respectful and
mm,
there's no hatred amongst you. But yeah, I think that my best works have come with a great degree of difficulty in some
mm,
ways, like
mm,
a push and a pull. So yeah, I think that if things are too easy, then in my experience, then maybe maybe something's being lost. But yeah, I mean, I think with Glenn, it just depends on the director, really. Like
mm,
if
mm,
they're a very visual person, like Casimir Burgess, who did Franklin and I Winter, is very visual. So he wants to be involved in all those discussions, and I definitely thrive off that because it pushes me. But it's not an easy shoot, and if I had to
mm.
say which shoots have taken more years of my life off me, it's definitely those ones. So
Yes, yes.
yeah, I think that it just really depends on the director.
I know that you're only early, very early in your career, but has there ever been a situation where you just, couldn't relate to this filmmaker's vision and it just wasn't going to work out ultimately?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I've only had one shoot as a cinematographer where I really was felt like I was really up against it.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I think in that situation, it was like a first time director that had been thrust into a very difficult shooting scenario and very kind of stressful shooting environment as well. And I think that the difficulty that arose, in that situation was just not to do with the collaboration necessarily, but just to do
Yes.
with the stress of the shoot. So yeah, we got through that one, but yeah, it was really tough, when you're dealing with people bring in any baggage to set with them. It can be really tough. um,
Yes.
but no, I've never had to walk off a shoot so far, touch wood. So
Yes.
You're listening to the Cinema Australia podcast on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or at cinemaaustralia.com.au.
Really looking forward to getting stuck into talking about Iron Winter now. It really is an incredible film, and people get. If I could use a really poor way of describing my feelings here, but people get excited whenever a new Spielberg film or a new Christopher Nolan film or a new James Gunn film's coming out. But Cass Burgess is one of those filmmakers to me where I just get so excited whenever I hear that he has a new movie coming out. This is your second collaboration with Cass following your work on Franklin. How did you two meet?
yeah, we knew each other from when I was assisting. Actually, I focused pulled on a film called Fell, which was Cass's debut feature film that
I'm looking
Martin
at a
Dean.
poster of it right now in front of me.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so I was the focus puller on that with the lovely Martin Dean. And after I decided to make the jump to shooting, I had coffee with Cass and was just telling him that I was thinking about being a cinematographer. And yeah, he told me about Franklin. And he kind of pitched it to me and said, "Oh, you've probably never ever heard of this river or this story before because it's a bit before your time." But as he showed me the sizzle reel for the for the film, I said, "Oh, that's my dad," because my dad was a protester and he got arrested, and he's in all the newsreel footage of the time. So I was so lucky. It was a real, yeah, it was just a really kind of lucky moment for me in my career because I think knowing Cass and also that bond to the project, it was hard to say no to me
Yeah.
after that. So
Yes.
yeah, we bonded over that, and I got the opportunity to shoot Franklin. So
Wow. So you were aware of the river, and obviously something that your father had spoken about?
yeah, I remember in school seeing him, in the science and environment class, on the tally, and being, I was proud of him really
Yeah,
because yeah,
yeah.
my dad's you wouldn't really picture him as much of a rebel, so yeah, it was nice to be down there, kind of following in his footsteps in some way.
Yeah, that's amazing. What an incredible story. And we spoke just before about you having that shared vision with a filmmaker. How quickly did you realize that you had that with Cass?
Yeah, really quickly, I think I knew I could feel that we had similar tastes when I worked on his feature film Fell. I really thought that was an amazing film, and just the way that he approached things visually and thought through everything, I could see that we had similar tastes. So
Mm, mm,
yeah, I think we did a bit of a trial shoot where we shot a music video together before Franklin. We did a little music clip just to make sure that we could work together.
mm,
And yeah, we got along really well. Like yeah, he's such a warm and charismatic person. I think it's
mm,
hard not
mm.
to like him. So,
That's very true. How did he propose Iron Winter to you?
um, oh, oh my God, yeah. I think after shooting Franklin, we both said to each other, "Oh well, like at least it can't get any harder than this." And I think I said this. I think I said the same thing after shooting Fell, which was a pretty
Yeah.
hard shoot too.
Yes, yeah.
And so, yeah, when he came, we had caught up for lunch and he pitched Mongolia to me. I was like, oh my God, this is, Mongolia in the middle of winter. Like, yeah, how crazy is that? And it really was. It was a crazy shoot.
Um, how prepared would you say that you were for the challenges of shooting such a daunting mission in this is the heart of a harsh Mongolian winter, temperatures are below -40. It appears as though you really are experiencing the harshest of conditions here. Was that the case?
Yeah, it was. I would love to say that we were all rugged up and looked after the whole time, but it was very grueling. And before the shoot, I tried to do as much research as I could to find out, you know, from other people, their experiences of shooting in those conditions. And there weren't many people that had done it really. And I
Mm.
really struggled to find information about it. So, yeah, if anybody's listening and they need some tips on shooting in -40, then yeah, give me a call. But yeah, it was there was no way to really prepare for the difficulty, not only in the shooting but just in the day to day. You know, after you're up when you're going to bed, and the lack of you know, things that you used to probably
Mm.
was really tough. So, and just being away from family for that long was really hard too.
How long was it all up?
It was 3 months, so it was
Wow.
two blocks, but yeah, 3 month duration.
Wow. So, talk us through some of those conditions that you experienced.
Yeah, it was obviously very cold. We were unprepared. I think the Mongolian team were unprepared too. We One of our funniest memories is getting in a car, you know, driving out from Ulaanbaatar, and this lovely guy Batsakan turning around to us, and he was supposed to be our chef on the shoot. And I think the first thing he said to us was, "Oh, boys, my wife, she does all the cooking, you know. You're gonna have to help me. I don't know how to cook, you know, I never do any cooking." And we're like, "Oh, great." You know, so we'd be like asking, you know, "What is this? Oregano?" I don't know, you know, because they were trying to cook Western meals for us. And so it was just, yeah, we were all unprepared for how difficult just going out into the wilderness and driving through the snow for days on end to try and get to these herders was going to be. You know, it took us just a week. It took us a week to get to them
Wow.
before we could even start shooting. So yeah, a long time in transit.
Describe your relationship with the film's central subjects here. Was there a language barrier? How did that work?
Yeah, like yeah, obviously we didn't speak Mongolian. We had a
Mm.
translator with us, and there was that huge language barrier because none of the boys spoke English.
Mm.
So yeah, it was tough, especially for Cass, I think, because you know, initially to get an idea of their story and to understand more about them, we did lots of interviews.
Mm.
And yeah, it was hard because Cass really just had to rely on the translator to be the one asking the questions and kind of relaying things and hoping that it was getting translated okay.
Mm. Mm.
But in the actual shoot itself, I felt like not speaking the language freed me up a lot to just think about, you know, the body language and their expressions and kind of be more attuned to those kind of fine details. So
Mm.
yeah, for me, it was quite a freeing experience.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. And, some of these shots are just truly breathtaking, and especially the ones that do feature these guys. But was there much direction on your behalf in terms of staging a shot, or was it mostly organic? And I know you've just kind of explained that there, but maybe you could talk about it a bit more.
Yeah, I think we tried. We were really running off our feet to capture any moment, and there was a lot of repetition. You know, like where these guys are doing the same thing more or less with
Mm.
slight variations every day. So I think
Mm.
over time, you know, we would kind of catch glimpses of moments and, you know, like realize that they were integral to the story. And then if we had a chance, we would go back and shoot, you know, a different angle here, or ask, "Hey, can you just, you know, hold there while I run over here with the camera and get a shot of this?" But a lot of what you see is just, I think, working with Cass and us both thinking editorially a little bit as
Mm.
well in the shoot. We were able to just move really, really quickly and decisively, I think, as well. So sometimes, yeah, I feel like sometimes you're watching some of those scenes thinking, "Oh, did they have like a B cam or did they repeat this moment?" But it really is us just going, "Cool, we've got enough of that. Let's move over here," you know?
Mm.
Yeah, there were a few shots, obviously, that you see in the film that were definitely staged. Like there's a couple of slider shots in the film that we kind of planned even before we got over there, thinking about ways to kind of to separate these chapters of the story. So there
Mm.
was a lot of that thought in it. But yeah, apart from those were the main things that we staged, and the rest was pretty organic.
Beautiful. As someone who sees as many Australian films as I do, it's impossible to watch Iron Winter and not compare it to what I'm calling its thematic cousin, The Wolves Always Come at Night. How aware of that film were you and Cass going into Iron Winter? Because they probably wouldn't have been made too far apart.
No, it was a funny story actually because I've worked with Michael Latham. I've worked with him actually just at the tail end of when I was assisting. And
Wow.
yeah, I'm a big fan of his cinematography. So
Yeah.
I think I touched base with him, and yeah, I was talking to him, and he was mentioning about that shoot. And then I called the producers and cast, and I said, "Hey, do you guys know about this other Mongolian film?" And they're like, "No." And then, obviously there was minor panic stations because yeah, harder to get funding if there's just been another Australian Mongolian film that's been funded for sure. So
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So but yeah, no, I have greatest respect for Gabriel Brady and Michael Latham. I think that's also a really incredible film. And yeah, Gabriel's previous film as well, Island of the Hungry Ghosts, was a
Yeah.
big reference for us, actually on Franklin as well. So yeah,
Wow. Yeah, it was one of those Armageddon deep impact moments, wasn't it?
yeah, it really was. Like, no, you can't be serious. What are the chances? But no, I called Michael Latham and he just said, "Oh, make sure you bring lots of condiments with you." So
Oh, really, really. So
yeah,
what
yeah.
was some of his more professional advice about shooting in these conditions?
He didn't have too much to, he's not I mean he is, but he's not a super technical DP. Like he has his own
Mm,
camera and he has his own kit. But yeah, he was just more giving me a little bit of the cultural lowdown and, get prepared to wait, for things to
mm,
happen and be at the mercy of the Mongolian way of life. But yeah,
mm.
no, no, he was great to talk to.
So you've seen The Wolves Always Come at Night?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I thought that yeah, Michael did a beautiful job. It's a hard film to watch. I found it hard to watch because of the story's quite heartbreaking in a way,
Yeah,
and also
yeah.
just having been to Mongolia. I think I
Mm.
saw it after we did the first trip, or maybe even after we'd shot the whole thing. So I kind of was watching it with a bit of a different lens, maybe than your average viewer.
Yeah. If I said to you, how good is that shot in the bar, would you know what I'm referring to?
Yes, yes, I would. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's some crazy shots in that as well. I think
Yeah.
I would be asking Michael the staged question as well. Yeah, it's
So
incredible.
So how caught up did you get in the story of these central characters? Is this something that you're interested in?
Yeah, definitely. I felt really close to them, throughout the shoot, and by the end of the shoot, we were really became really good friends. And to me, something in the shoot and in the story really reminded me of when I was obviously their age and making that journey from being a really immature teenager to kind of becoming a man. And
Mm,
so yeah, I really connected with them, and like their lives are so hard, and
mm.
so um, yeah, their environment is so unforgiving compared to what we're used to. So I really felt for them.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard not to. And speaking of environment there, other than the themes of mateship, the importance of preserving tradition and discovering oneself, another important theme of this film is the impact that climate change is having on the world, which really can't be denied, especially considering, that we're seeing it with our own eyes in a film like this. Is this something that's important to you? And I'm thinking about this question even more now that you've spoken about your father's protests.
Yeah, yeah. My dad was a big environmentalist, greenie back in the day. So yeah, I definitely grew up. I've got all these old badges and banners that he's given to me and stuff. And yeah, it's really yeah. I'm overjoyed to be able to work on projects like this that have a message about the environment. And I
Mm,
think that it's one of the biggest. Yeah, it's not. um, yeah, it's just such a big issue that we're all facing, and
Mm.
such an important story for our time. So yeah, and
Mm.
Cass too. Cass is very focused on all those films, obviously. So
Yes, yeah. I don't mean to overstep the mark here, and I'm just assuming that your parents are still with us. So, are they encouraging of your work? Do they see everything that you make?
yes, no, they're still here.
Okay, that's
Thankfully,
great. Yes.
yeah, very very lucky in that regard. And yeah, they did. It was really actually really emotional for me because I they came to the premiere of Franklin, and yeah, that was a really emotional moment for me with them in the cinema. You know, it was the first kind of thing that I'd properly poured my heart into as a creative. So yeah, it was amazing, and I had the um, yeah, I got to go down the river with my dad after we shot the film because
Oh,
I said to him, "Hey, Dad, you've got to come and do this journey," because he'd only been to Warner's Landing at the end, and hadn't
yeah.
actually done the rafting trip down the
Wow.
river. So
Yeah.
yeah, I got to do that with him, which was really special.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah,
A good time, obviously.
yeah, it was. Dad almost slipped down a wet rock and broke his leg, but apart from that, it was good. Yeah, the
Yeah.
river guides were aware of him being a protester, and they thanked him at the end when we got to
Oh,
the landing. And yeah, I think it was really unforgettable experience. That's for sure.
yeah. Did you get to film any of it personally?
No, it was funny actually because I was down there. They were still doing the poster for Franklin, and I'd taken some shots on a medium format camera to use for the poster of the film. But stupidly, I hadn't gone to do Rock Island Bend. I was more focused on Erebus. You know, it's a
Yes. Yeah.
beautiful chasm in the rocks,
Mm.
and when I got back, they said, "Oh, these are really great photos, but we're going to use this iPhone shot of Rock Island." And I was like, "You're kidding me." So anyway, that was pretty funny.
I guess one final question that I have for you here about Iron Winter is how you feel about the cinema experience versus streaming with a film like this. I mean, this film, and most importantly, your cinematography on it, deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible, in my opinion, which unfortunately isn't a luxury that's afforded to most Australian films, especially documentaries. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's incredible when you can see a film like any of these films, any of these documentaries on a big screen, and something is lost in the translation. When you see it on a TV. But
Mm.
yeah, I think that I would love to say that I go to the cinema a lot, but I think the reality is for so many people, especially if you've got kids, that it's very hard to get out of the house. And
Mm. Mm.
people, during COVID, I think I was going a bit crazy, so I bought a projector and have like a pretty good setup at home. So I think that cinephiles still will seek out the biggest screens wherever possible. And
Mm.
yeah, I've noticed as well that there's been a few picture houses opening up in Melbourne. So it seems like there's maybe a bit of a revival happening, which is cool.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're shooting something like Iron Winter, are you thinking to yourself, are you thinking on a cinema experience while you're shooting, or does it not bother you?
Yeah, I think I am. I'm definitely composing for a bigger screen, I think. And like I love to shoot wide shots and
Yeah.
get a sense of scale. And I think that sometimes, when you see those images on a smaller screen, you don't fully appreciate them,
No, no.
And some of these landscapes, especially the ones in Mongolia and in Franklin too, to be honest,
Mm,
they're just
mm.
so much more jaw dropping when you can see them at scale. So yeah, always trying to keep that in mind.
Yeah. So the next thing that I want to talk to you about here is this pilot episode for Lake Bogan. I caught the pilot episode and I was so impressed by it. It felt like it was such a tease because now I just want more and more. Can you talk to us a bit about this pilot?
Yeah, so in back to me sitting on the fence with shooting and directing,
Yes.
I had some downtime. Don't know when, but This a friend of mine, Nick Kappa, who's the co-creator of it. We've been friends for a while, and he's a stand-up comedian. And I think we were talking about doing a short film together or something for a while, and he'd gone and done a gig up in Swan Hill in Victoria, and driven back through this kind of one horse town called Lake Boga, which is a really beautiful spot with an interesting history as well. And yeah, I think we had coffee, and he's like, "Man, we've got to shoot a film here. It's crazy." So yeah, we started with the location in mind, and then just tried to write a story that we both loved, that had lots of elements of films that we both loved in it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was the beginning of it.
Is a complete series written?
Well, we've written episode two, but where the whole thing's been reshuffled at the moment because
Mm.
we're lucky enough to get a production company on board earlier this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, things are moving with it slowly, but there is hope that there will be a series at some point. Yeah,
Have you had any interest?
yeah, we've had lots of interest actually. Like it was
Mm.
really overwhelming for me. It was another moment. We had a premiere in the States at this festival over there, and to be in the cinema and to feel the audience reacting to it in the way that they did. I like Nick wasn't able to come, but I walked out and I called him straight away, and I was like, "Man, like the Americans love this. They really do."
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a real affirmation because yeah, I think we both kind of thought, "Oh, is this too crazy? Is anybody
Mm.
going to get the humor?"
Mm.
But yeah, we're really hopeful that that all the meetings that we've had and stuff, something comes of it. But also, it's just been a really fun thing to be a part of. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
I guess the thing that got me the most excited about it was this cast. I mean, everyone here can really act, and I feel like if this was a TV series that's funded by, a funding body like Screen Australia, for example, or if it was picked up by Stan, they would want Asher Keddy as the barmaid, David Wenham as the main character, Gary Sweet as the guy sitting at the bar, and
Yeah,
Richard
yeah.
Roxburgh as the other character. Does it get you excited to work with these emerging actors? And some of them, I believe, are non-actors.
Yeah, it was such a revelation working with those guys.
Mm.
Especially Jess, who plays sorry, Shay, who plays Jess, the girl with
Yeah,
Down syndrome in the show.
yeah, yeah,
She was just incredible, and I think I was really you know scared that I couldn't direct maybe as well. I was going into it with thinking, oh God, do I really know how to direct actors and stuff like that? But yeah, we got so lucky with their performances, and yeah, all of them did an incredible job. So yeah, if if the Australian public could see how good they are, I think it'd be really amazing.
yeah, man. Come on, you got to make the rest of this thing now.
Yeah, somebody's got to give us some money.
Yes, please. If you're
Come
listening,
on,
throw the money at him.
that's right.
One of the final questions that I have here for you, and it's something that I mentioned at the start that I wanted to ask you this question towards the end. Has winning the Golden Frog opened up any doors for you or invited employment opportunities? Has it been a benefit in that regard?
It's hard to say. The
Mm,
phone has rung a little bit more since I got back from
yeah,
Poland, but yeah, it's hard to say this early on. I think that down the track, it takes a while. I think when you with anything, if it's an
yeah,
award or whether it's a film that you've made that you've worked on that comes out, I definitely feel like there's a pretty big lag between people seeing your name and thinking, oh, so and so is doing this to actually having a project for you.
yes, yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure is the answer. Yeah,
Yes. Well, I really do hope that more doors are opened up for you because you are an incredible talent, and you're one of those cinematographers names that I look for now. Hoping to see more of your work. So the
thank you.
final question that I have here for you, which is a question that I ask all of my podcast guests, and I ask my guests with a full understanding that people are busy and they don't always get to see everything. But have you seen an Australian film lately that has really stood out for you as far as cinematography goes?
Well, as far as cinematography goes, yeah, there's a couple actually. I saw How to Make Gravy, which is yeah, that Paul Kelly kind of Christmas film.
Mm.
And I really loved it. I thought the cinematography in it, I know the guy who shot it, Ed Goldner, and I thought it was just really beautifully lensed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a Mongolian landscape or anything like that. But I think, yeah, I just really enjoyed watching it, and I felt, when you're watching something, you feel like the camera's in the right place. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think Ed's one of those people who knows where to put the camera. So that was good. And then I watched uh, The Surfer, which is
Oh,
that an
yeah.
Australian film? I know it's
Yes,
shot in
very much
Australia.
so. Shot over
Yeah,
here in
yeah.
WA. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I really enjoy that too. It's so unhinged and a very different style, but yeah, it was very entertaining.
Oh, I love that film so much. And I think the reason that I loved it so much was because the Australian actors in that film, Justin Rosniak and Julian
Yeah,
McMahon, I feel like they outacted Nicolas Cage in every sense. I mean, Cage was amazing, but to see those Australian actors outact this Academy Award winner was just terrific.
yeah, and I was watching it because for us, and making Late Burger as well, like we were writing that when Mr. In Between came out,
Wow,
and
wow.
and since that came out, like just the acting in that show is so incredible. And
Yeah.
watching The Surfer, I was like, whoever directed this has definitely seen Mr. In Between because Justin Rosniak and Nick Kassim are both
Yes,
in,
yeah, yeah, yes.
both just poached the cast from that. So, yeah, that was great. That was very funny.
Incredible. Well, Ben, it's been absolute pleasure speaking with you. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join the Cinema Australia podcast and for sharing your stories. I truly do wish you all the best going forward in your career, and I can't wait to see more of your films going forward.
No, thank you, Matthew. It's been a real pleasure for me too.
Thanks for listening. Find all the latest Australian film news at cinemaaustralia.com.au. You can follow Cinema Australia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok.